from the institutional interpretive concepts of disciplines, let me simply point out something that is well known by the learned audience, that what characterizes in principle this discipline of Islamic studies as something distinct or different from other disciplines of Arabic learning, like Arab history, theology, literature, politics, or you might be extended it to the inter and intra-cultural perspectives. So here what's significant is that the Department of Islamic Studies addresses in principle the history of sciences in different denominations in the history of Islam. So here we don't deal with the history or the political interpretation of historical events. Rather, the area of focus is history of sciences, or scientific disciplines. So in this perspective, it seems to be very promising on part of this seminar that we organized, that it addresses this significant aspect. This significant aspect, which has been a very prominent feature of the history of Islam right from the beginning, and it has been rightly pointed out in the first session, inaugural session, as well as in all these papers which have been presented, also very concisely, that we are never at depth of legacy when we talk about the history of sciences in the parameters, within the parameters of history of Islam. We are not at depth of epistemology, nor the scientific legacy. So the cognitive is there, scientific cognitive, it is there, the epistemology is there, scientific epistemology, scientific paradigm, experimentation, coupled with the scientific legacy, actual scientific legacy and corpus. And as it is well known, what differentiates from scientific thinking and scientific behavior from the source of scientific paradigms is that here the core area is that of experimentation. So if the cognitive is coupled with the experimentation, the empirical aspect, then it constitutes the domain of science. And of course, the division that it starts with Iqra. And as a philologist, it comes to me that Iqra is something related to physiological aspect of something. This is Iqra. So here observation is there, and observation is material. So here it's a combination of the theoretical cognitive with the practical paradigm. Now, we have seen lots of things during the prophetic area, during the Umayyad times, Abbasid times, Ottoman period, extended to the modern era. When these scholars were presenting their papers, I was just looking back into some pages of history and trying to find out what is the methodological difference between the scientific thinking in the Muslim society during the Middle Ages and what are the present day departures. So what comes to my mind is that I think it is the institutional aspect, institutional domain that comes first or plays very significant role in this very trajectory of scientific development in the Muslim society. Although it must be recollected that scientific inquiry, scientific knowledge, or how to acquire scientific knowledge, in the history of Islam, it is characterized by two parameters, two basic parameters, which serve as guidelines, guiding principles. The first is that it is gender neutral. So gender neutrality. So scientific thinking, scientific behavior, scientific aptitude, with all its practicalities in the history of Islam, has nothing to do with gender. So it's a human twist. It is gender neutral. So it's simply like هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون أو طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. And of course here Muslim also includes Muslima. So we need not add the word Muslima. Muslim simply means the person who submits himself to the will of God. So it has been gender neutral. Now, just get the significance of this gender neutrality with another aspect, which is again very, very significant. Here it is gender neutrality. And second is the non-compartmentalized paradigm of knowledge in Islam. It is not compartmentalized. It is not religious knowledge versus non-religious knowledge. It is not cognitive, that is divided into holy and unholy, sacred and mundane. So this dichotomy doesn't exist. That sort of compartmentalization doesn't exist in the history of Islam with Islamic parameters. So these two aspects have been basic guiding forces in presenting a paradigm that is holistic, that represents the whole. Now, we are at the depth of information regarding the percentage of Muslim women from the institutional point of view during the Abbasid times. So we can hardly have any idea of how many women were engaged in the pursuit of knowledge in what's known as within institutional parameters. How many women were there in Madrasa Zahiriya? How many women there in Madrasa Nizamiya of Baghdad or Zahiriya of Damascus? So we are at depth of data. This is just represented in adverse terms, in opposite terms in modern times. So in modern times, we do have the advantage. So here, the paradigm of scientific thinking in Muslim society have been institutional. Because of this institutional aspect, we have emergence of large number of Muslim thinkers from that quarter, which is usually represented in stereotyped terminologies. These stereotyped terminologies have no relevance, have no justification. If you just look at the present day scenario, the glimpses of which have been represented by well-researched, well-written and well-presented visions. Now, there were 8 presentations, one by faculty and another by research scholars. I find all these presentations to be very, very scholarly and representing the gamut of areas concerning women's scientific behavior in the history of Islam, right from the beginning till modern times. I was thinking about Maryam Mirza Khani. So the paper was there. I was thinking about other Muslim writers and scientists like Anushi Ansari, and the paper was there. So it was something really very good. Now this scenario, let me just talk about that very concisely. That In the modern times, if we just look at the present academic scenario of the Arab world or the Muslim world, we are finding that female scientific endeavors are noticeable in all countries, approximately all the countries, whether they are the Persian regions or the Arab regions. So if Iran has Anousheh, proudly has Anousheh, and Maryam Mirza Khan, among others, in the Arabian quarters, will be having Hayat as-Sindi, a very significant train from Saudi Arabia. So the society that is usually presented in a stereotyped manner as something that is very much conservative, it also has some glaring names in modern times because of this institutional paradigm that has emerged in modern times. Rada al-Butayri from Saudi, who had 10 patents internationally. Shadia Rifa'i Hibal from Syria, American Syrian. Maryam Matar from Emirates, who have been assigned with big government initiatives in terms of engineering. Rana Ad-Dajani, Rana, Ra, Noon, Alif, Rana Ad-Dajani from Jordan for her works in genetics, etc. Saha Al-Qayshawi, a very prominent name in NASA. Ghada Muhammad Amir, Egyptian. Lubna Dahdamouni, Jordanian in Denmark. Widad Ibrahim, the Sudanese Spaniard in the field of aerodynamics. Maryam Shadid from Morocco, the very famous astrophysicist in modern times. Halima bint Bouza from Algeria. And of course we have seen the names from different quarters like Syria and even countries like Saudi Arabia and Emirates. And of course we have several names which have been represented by these scholars from our own home, that is Aligarh Muslim University. So the scenario is very much promising, and it actually demolishes this stereotype of thinking about the approach to science and technology within Muslim society in terms of gender, and the actual progress that is visible